Well, welcome to part two of the special pattern discussion. Of course, I've explained the pattern that we're in at the moment, what we've seen, what we're in at the moment, and of course, all eyes are on next week, and particularly the days leading up to Christmas. And we're going to have a look at the ECMWF model, and to summarise what I've explained so far, we have seen a pretty strongly positive North Atlantic oscillation. That meaning we've got a trough over the North Atlantic, we've seen cold air over Greenland drift into the trough, and as areas of low pressure are aboard a strong Atlantic jet stream, that of course energised by both the cold to the north, the warm to the south, a roaring jet stream with systems embedded along that jet stream has been pushing across Ireland and the UK. As they push through, this cold air that's readily available is getting tapped, and of course the cold combined with that moisture is going to produce and has been producing the snowfall over northern areas of the UK. And of course up until last night into this morning, we've seen that snow down towards South Wales and through southern England as far south as Kent. Now, what I am looking at is, of course, we're not seeing that positive North Atlantic oscillation change to a negative. That, you know, the persistency and the lack of blocking. Of course, if you build a ridge of high pressure over the North Atlantic, that does two things. It stops the Atlantic and the mild air from progressing eastwards, and as well as that, it then forces all the cold air to the north, replaced by warm air, to then force southwards into the trough. And of course, I am watching that, the development of that blocking high pressure. That's why it's called a blocking high, because it's stopping the classic typical westerly flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere, that fluid flow, which of course means that of course any trough, any area of cold will get pushed in and out very, very quickly. Let's look ahead at next week. Yes, it doesn't bode well for snow across the UK. We're going to be seeing a high pressure likely starting to develop. You can see here that the cold air remains over the UK, that northwesterly flow continuing into Monday through Tuesday. You can see that there. There's a fresh little lobe of cold air getting forced down. That there appears to be, even given the upper levels, we've got warmer, cold air coming in the backside. That would suggest another weather system pushing through Monday into Tuesday of next week. Looking ahead at Wednesday, you've got that cold northwesterly flow. So again, we've got cold up until at least Wednesday, getting driven down in the northwest flow across the UK and Ireland. But let's look at this. Thursday the 22nd, so you're talking a few days before Christmas, high pressure and control. Yes, we've got mild conditions. But let's look at Friday, and you can see here, yes, the trough is starting to show itself over the North Atlantic again. Does that suggest that's moving in towards Christmas? Let's look at Saturday. We've got, now this is important, folks, and this is what I'm perhaps, yes, clutching at straws, but look at how cold the air is here over eastern Canada. We've got a region in between, we've got a forcing of cold air, of course, bleeding down in a northwesterly flow. This, folks, is what I'm hoping develops with a weather system off the Atlantic. Yes, there's no blocking high pressure, of course. That doesn't mean that we can't get cold air. We also can't get snow, and I'm really hoping that we actually see the cold air getting forced down, met by precipitation off the Atlantic, and we could see some decent snow, at least over northern areas, if not over southern areas. That ridge of high pressure failing to build over the North Atlantic means that we're going to be seeing cold in and out. There's not going to be a sustained cold. But remember, like I've been saying all along, that I did believe and I continue to believe that the Atlantic-driven pattern will continue. But I'm wanting to see the snow starting to spread out, become more persistent. And unfortunately, the very, very cold air remains to the north over the pole at the moment. The Arctic oscillation remains positive, and that means to say that there's little in the way of cold, true cold, can get driven down. And of course, like I said to you, and I continue to say this, until we get that block and high pressure over in the North Atlantic and Greenland, we're not going to see sustained cold. It's going to be replaced by milder air every time. But certainly, looking ahead at New Year, I'm still of the belief that we are going to see a building block and area of high pressure over the North Atlantic. I believe it's only a matter of time before that ridge starts to show its hand. Why I think that? Well, I believe that the recent volcanic eruptions over Iceland does and has been a tendency of more blocking over the high latitudes of the northern hemisphere, and of course that would suggest stratospheric warming events. When you get that warming of the stratosphere, all the cold air in the upper levels of the atmosphere gets sunk down to the surface, pushed southwards into those troughs. And I continue to hold on to the idea that we could have a very significant cold spell into January from about New Year onwards. So continue to keep checking back, folks. I do believe that we could have a white Christmas if that system has something to show for